Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Jajatio, and I'm the Talks Subcommittee responsible for the Surgical Talks portfolio of IASSS, the International Association of Student Surgical Societies. Today, I'm joined by the rest of our team members, Sang-Un Lee and Gustav Biswas. It is a great pleasure and honor to host our event, Social Media, Functional Neurosurgery, and the Holy Grail of Neuromodulation. Our event will be divided into the following segments: introduction, talk, the Q&A segment, and the closing. Before we proceed with the most exciting part of today's session, I would like to kindly remind everyone of the following ground rules. Please make sure that your microphone is muted upon arrival, and please keep it that way. During the session, only the panels and the interviewing IASSS portfolio members will speak using their microphones. During the Q&A session, the questions submitted via the registration form will be prioritized. If there are questions based on the context of the discussion, please use Zoom's chat function. These questions will be addressed should there be enough time. The recording of the event will be available on the IASSS website and the YouTube channel at a later stage. Please do follow us on social media, including LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And importantly, the April Talk WhatsApp group to stay informed about administrative points involving the certificate of attraction. Now, for the most exciting part, I would like to introduce our special speaker for the talk. Dr. Georgios Matis is a senior consultant for neurosurgery. He leads the chronic pain and spasticity section of the Department of Stereotactic and Functional Neurosurgery at the University Hospital of Cologne. He has been trained in Greece, USA, Switzerland, and Germany. Dr. Matis is a member of 2 medical associations and also a member of the German Neuromodulation Society and the International Neuromodulation Society. He serves as a reviewer for many international journals and is an editorial board member for Neuromodulation, Technology at the Neural Interface and Interventional Pain Medicine and Neuromodulation. He holds the position of editor-in-chief of the Internet Journal of Neurosurgery. Dr. Matis has published many articles in Greek and international PubMed Index journals and held many lectures as an invited speaker at numerous international congresses and webinars. At the same time, he is the co-chair of the Medical and Public Education and Engagement Committee of the International Neuromodulation Society and member of the Marketing Committee of the North American Neuromodulation Society. Dr. Matis is involved in many international clinical studies and has been active as an instructor for many colleagues in Germany and abroad. He is also an active member of the Medical Advisory Board of the German CRPS Support Group and a member of several online consultation platforms. He is actively involved in social media trying to raise awareness about spinal cord stimulation, intrathecal therapies, and neuromodulation. So without further ado, now we will give the floor to Dr. Georgios Matis.
Thank you, Sova, for your kind introduction. Well, the most exciting part of today's webinar is the Q&A session, not my talk. This is only a stimulus for the discussion. I'm going to present you some basic things, but we do it today in order to see what type of questions you have and answer these questions. I already got some questions yesterday. So in the end of my presentation, I'm going to address some issues as well. And then all students who are here, if they still have questions, they can, of course, ask them. If we cannot answer them today, we'll try a way to find them and reply to them in the future via email. So I'm very happy that I'm going to speak about my favorite topics, social media and neuromodulation. But let's see the most important thing, the conflicts of interest. This is something you should always pay attention to when you are looking at a presentation, when you're at congresses, when somebody is presenting something. It doesn't matter if this colleague is very famous or very old or very experienced. Please always have a very close look at this slide, the conflicts of interest. This slide can show many things with a little bit of experience. So I'm a consultant, or I belong to the medical advisory board of these 5 companies. Of course, for today's topic, this is not relevant, but this is not always the case for all topics. The agenda. Just some words about my journey, because I saw there are some questions there from the medical students. What is functional neurosurgery and neuromodulation, and why chronic pain is a very sensitive issue in medicine? Of course, some things about social media, advantages and disadvantages. This was one more question. And in the end, I would be happy to answer your questions. So this is Thessaloniki, a town in Greece, in the northern part of Greece, with a population of 1 million people. Here is where I studied medicine, where I finished medicine, when I did my residency as a neurosurgeon. In this hospital is the general hospital of Georgios Papanikolaou. Maybe you know the scientist. The women who are among us, I'm sure they do know him. So this is where I finished my residency, the general neurosurgery and not the functional neurosurgery. And then started the journey. So you can have a look where is the plane. This is Thessaloniki in Greece. So I started from there, and after my residency, I traveled to North America. What is there? It is New York. We have the Val Cornell Medical College. There is a very special lab, a skull-based lab. Dr. Bernardo leads this lab. You see a photo from this lab inside and a photo from the building. I stayed there 6 months as a research fellow. This hospital is in Manhattan. And after these 6 months, I said, okay, let's go back to Europe. Once again in the plane, got back to Europe. And where exactly? I went to Switzerland, to Zurich. This is a picture of the University Hospital of Zurich, or Unispital Zurich in German. I got a scholarship there for research for 1 year, for 12 months in the Department of Neuroradiology, a very nice department, specialized in treating aneurysms and arteriovenous malformations through an endovascular access, not with coiling, okay, not with, with clips, but with coiling. I learned many things there, and I met many colleagues from different countries. It was a really nice experience. After staying 12 months there, once again, the plane, and I landed in Germany, in Cologne. Cologne is a city more or less with 1 million people, just like Thessaloniki, in the western part of Germany. And you can see 2 photos from the hospital, or from my home, where I'm working actually. We are located at the 14th floor of this tall building in a department of stereotactic and functional neurosurgery. This is not general neurosurgery, it's a completely different department, but both departments, general neurosurgery and functional neurosurgery, are belonging to a center for neurosurgery of Cologne. And this is where we are now. Functional neurosurgery. I looked it up. There are many definitions. My favorite one is this one, coming from the Stanford University: restoring neurological function and quality of life to patients with movement-related disorders, Parkinson's disease, for example, pain, and epilepsy. And this is my favorite one because it's not about treating pain or a symptom, but it's about improving the quality of life. And this should be our goal in medicine in general. What is neuromodulation? When I first came here in Germany, it was December 2013, I actually didn't know anything about neuromodulation. So I thought neuromodulation is something like that, something with many cables. Then I visited the official website of the International Neuromodulation Society, INS, and I found there this definition: the alteration of nerve activity through targeted delivery of a stimulus, such as electrical stimulation or chemical agents to specific neurological sites in the body. With neuromodulation, we can try to treat different diseases: movement disorders, tremor, Parkinson's disease, medically refractory epilepsy, pain, which is my passion or my expertise, spasticity, this as well, but many other disorders such as urologic disorders, fecal incontinence, many human pelvic floor disorders, gastric disorders, and many, many more. There are also alternative definitions for neuromodulation. So I give you two more definitions, my own definitions. On the left side, a child is trying to help Jesus. For me, neuromodulation is an attempt to help our chronic pain patients. But neuromodulation can be other things. For example, my dog, coming from Croatia, we adopted her. She's now almost 1.5 years old. She's also a type of neuromodulation. The pain is a very sensitive issue. I think you all read what Heraclitus once wrote: no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he's not the same man. These are videos from a sea, from a small island in Greece. Ikaria is the name. These videos were taken with a difference of 2 minutes, but you see that the waves are different. It's exactly the same with the pain. The pain is always different. It's not the same in the same person or in different persons. And we should never forget that. We should always not forget that pain is also a subjective experience. And we don't really know what it's like to be in chronic pain. It's exactly the same. We don't know what it's like to be deaf, not being able to hear, or blind, not being able to see. It's a different experience. And then we have some additional problems in patients with chronic pain. This is a questionnaire, pain detect questionnaire. We use it to see if the pain is neuropathic or not. And the patient should tell us how severe the pain is. 0 is no pain, 10 is very severe pain. And you saw that one patient wrote down these numbers. It took us some seconds, minutes, to find out that actually the patient wrote down her mobile number and not the intensity of the pain. And these are things that show how much pain can affect our brain. This is something I found on Instagram. You know, I'm pretty active there. It's about emails. It shows how we forget to attach files when we send an email. And I modified this image for patients with chronic pain. We think that we treat chronic pain, but if we forget to treat the emotional and cognitive aspects of pain, of chronic pain, then the patient is coming back and he's or she is not satisfied. This is simply the nature of pain. This is why when we're trying to treat patients with chronic pain, it's like a race. The man here is the physician, the train is the patient, and the physician is always trying to remove all obstacles from the way of the patient, tries to find ways to offer pain relief, and sometimes we have to become really creative. It's not simple. Something more from Instagram. This is one way to treat back pain here, for example. Pretty impressive, but I wouldn't say it's the most scientific way to do it. This is why neuromodulation can help us. I have written down only some of the available therapies in the context of neuromodulation. There are many more. For pain, at least, we have the motor cortex stimulation, deep brain stimulation, spinal cord stimulation, peripheral nerve stimulation, peripheral nerve field stimulation, occipital nerve stimulation, sacral nerve stimulation, vagus nerve stimulation, and intrathecal drug delivery systems, the pump therapy, the implantation of a catheter in the spinal canal and connection of this catheter to a medical pump. There are many more surgeons. For spinal cord stimulation now, which is my passion. It's not a new therapy. It's really amazing to see that many colleagues in many countries have never heard of this therapy. Everything started in 1965 with this article, Pain Mechanisms, a new theory published in Science, a very good journal. It's about the famous gate control theory, which states that activation of large diameter fibers can inhibit the transmission of pain signals to the brain. And for me, it's really interesting that the authors here are Dr. Melchak, who was an associate professor in the Department of Psychology, and Dr. Wall, who was a professor in the Department of Biology. Okay. And the first clinical application of this therapy took place in the United States in 1967, many years ago, more than 50 years ago, in a patient with a lung cancer. The daughter of the patient was a nurse and convinced her father to undergo the surgery. It was pretty experimental back then. And the colleagues, Dr. Seeley, published the results in this article. The patient was satisfied after the therapy, so there was a pain relief. But 6 days after the surgery, he passed away because of endocarditis. But the therapy had worked. This is Charlie Chaplin in Modern Times, a very old movie, 1936. But when I was a child, there was no internet. We had TV, and this was my favorite movie. Here you see Charlie Chaplin working in a factory, and each day performing the same repetitive movements. And when somebody is doing the same thing all over again, there are some complications. It's the same thing with our patients. They are patients. They are not products. We cannot always offer the same thing, the same therapy to all patients. If we do that, then we don't treat them correctly. And this is always good to keep it in mind because pain physicians, or some of them, have the tendency to be a little bit arrogant and they think they can really easy treat the pain on their own without the help from other colleagues. And pretty frequently, this is not the case. We need the help. Of course, we don't need this kind of teamwork. The patients do not belong to a specific hospital. They do not belong to a specific department. They do not belong to a specific physician. This is why a collaboration is urgently needed, a national collaboration within the same country, but also an international collaboration among colleagues from different countries, because in this way we can accumulate experience. We need collaboration with industry. All these are sales reps, are people who are helping me do the programming in our patients with spinal cord stimulation systems. It's a teamwork. Without all these people you see on this photo, our results would not be that good. This is why I'm really grateful to all of them. We also need empathy. And according to Eric Hoffer, he's an American philosopher, this is the German version. Empathy is the antitoxin of the soul. It's really important. Empathy for our patients, but also for ourselves and for our colleagues. This is an article published in a German journal. It's about the medical personnel and COVID times. I'm involved in this publication, so there are some Greeks there as well, many Greeks, I would say. And if you read the conclusion, it's a little bit frightening. We found that surgeons and anesthesiologists are pretty much affected from COVID, and they have a tendency to addictive behaviors. If you have some time, you could read at least the abstract. And the best thing, the social media. All we need is more likes, or maybe not. This is a wall in Greece. You see a Greek plate there in a road. It's not about likes, but let's start with the basics here, the definitions. There are many definitions about social media. My favorite one is the bottom right one, a world of human interactions driven by content and supported by the use of technology. social media is all about contact. And there are many people, there are also many colleagues, medical students, presidents, consultants, professors in universities who are constantly posting. Why do they do this? Which is the motivation? Out of sense of altruism, because of this term anticipated reciprocity, they are posting something and they expect that someone else will post something else that will help them in their professional life. Do they post just to gain some increased recognition or to gain a sense of community or simply make a difference? There are many reasons. How can we use the social media? There is creation. We can develop original content. We can build up websites, blogs, forums. We can organize polls. There is curation. We can comment on content that it is online, participate in forums and chats, share links or information. We can discuss with other colleagues, find opportunities. There's also consumption, just reading, reviewing, or watching on YouTube, for example. These are some information or data found on internet some years ago, and I'm pretty sure that these numbers here are now much higher. Patients are informed nowadays. 80% of internet users have searched for health information online. They are engaged. Almost 30% of them comment or post status updates based on health-related experiences. 30% of them view health information or social media are also viewing other patients' experiences with their same disease. And they are decision makers. 77% of them use search engines prior to making an appointment. They are looking who is the best physician, which is the best hospital. 41% of these patients reported that information found on social media would affect their choice of a specific doctor, hospital, or medical facility. So social media are not to be underestimated. What about physicians, or as my American colleagues say, the healthcare providers? I don't really like this term. I don't feel like a healthcare provider. I feel like a physician, but nevertheless, it is a common term used in publications as well. So physicians are online. 35% almost of doctors use social media daily or many times daily to conduct medical research. 88% of them use the internet or social media to research pharmaceutical, biotech, and medical devices. 60% of doctors say social media improve the quality of care delivered to patients. So it seems that also colleagues would like to use the social media. What about the industry? We could have, with rules, a mutually beneficial partnership. What do we gain as physicians? We can increase our visibility in the neuromodulation community. We can boost our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram profile, or even engage with key opinion leaders in our fields. We can improve the referrals to our center, so we can get more patients to treat. We can save costs by utilizing industry resources to build materials. So if I have to build up new material about spinal cord stimulation, I don't have to start from zero, from the very beginning. There are materials out there from many companies. I can start working on them. What about the industry? The industry wants to build stronger relationships with all hospitals, or me at least with academic hospitals. Wants to increase the number of implantations, wants to improve the visibility amongst patients and physicians, and would very much like to use patients who are satisfied with the therapy as ambassadors for the therapy or for the products of this company, which are the opportunities that we now have with social media as physicians, but our patients as well. The patients can achieve autonomy or empowerment, self-efficacy and support. Imagine you have a patient, a young woman with chronic pelvic pain. It's not so easy for this woman to reach out for help. It's much easier if we, as physicians or the industry, will try to reach out to these patients. With social media, we can make healthcare healthcare decisions that align with patients' priorities. They help us in medical education. We have improved medical knowledge, attitude skills. We have this e-learning possibility. We can also recruit students using emails. We can also recruit patients for clinical trials, or we can do the follow-up using all these things. We can disseminate news, research. We can promote public health. Awareness campaigns can be organized. We can also do the fundraising for specific disease, for example. And for you also, very important, you can enhance your networking. There is also the option of telementoring or e-mentorship. You can be introduced to medical leaders. And if somebody is already working as a consultant in this field, can increase his or her credibility as a thought leader in this field. But there are also risks. Each coin has two sides. The most important risk for me is the one on the left side. The social media activity sometimes can become a net in itself. We must be aware of this problem. We also have quality and reliability problems. There is an effect called echo chamber effect, meaning that we follow usually people who have the same opinions with us, or we like things that are in accordance with our beliefs. By doing so, we're not really open to new things, to new knowledge, to new ideas. There's a lack of peer review. There's no review here. We post what we want. Nobody checks that. There's also a medical legal liability. This is why it's really important when we post something, we should always use the first person, say, I believe, and also say this is not medical advice. If you follow the social media accounts of our American colleagues, especially, you will see it all over the place. They're always writing no medical advice, my own opinion. Then we have the confidentiality and privacy issue for patients and for physicians as well. Not all physicians want to have their face out there on social media, for example. And social media could be a distractor to the actual learning process. Remember how many times you tried to prepare for an exam, to read a book or your notes, and every 5 minutes you had a look on your Instagram account, for example. It can happen. It happened to me as well. And then we have such problems. This comes from BBC News, 2007, an old story, but still relevant. It was about a surgeon who, while conducting a gallbladder surgery, took a photo of the penis of a patient. I don't know how he did it, but he did it, and he got fired. So we have to be really careful about these things. These are not jokes. And these sometimes show really disrespect. And as Mike Tyson, I think you know him, told, social media made you all way too comfortable with disrespect people and not getting punched in the face for it. So we don't have to get punched in the face, but we have to be careful. Okay, we should respect all people. This is a keynote presentation, Disrupt Innovation Neuromodulation, which I prepared for the INS, International Neuromodulation Society, World Congress in Sydney some years ago. It was about social media communication neuromodulation. And I posted the first slide of this presentation on Facebook in order to raise some awareness and get more people come to the Congress. And one of the people who saw the post wrote, hopefully, disruption means more actual, meaningful evidence and less marketing. So now comes the question, do we need less marketing? Do we need more marketing? Or do we need something else? Actually, we need a less deceptive marketing. This is a very interesting editorial from Dr. Levy. He is the editor-in-chief of Neuromodulation Technology and at the Neural Interface, the official journal of the International Neuromodulation Society. It's about companies, physicians, and key opinion leaders, KOLs. And here he has written a list of things that are not really made correctly. And you see these words here written: misrepresentation, misleading, improper. My favorite one is number 9, marketing suboptimal or more expensive therapies based upon potential reimbursement rather than safety and efficacy. So to put it simply, there are some cases where the physicians are deciding to offer their patients therapy A instead of B, although they know that therapy B is better than therapy A, because they know that the insurance companies are going to pay only for therapy A and not for therapy B. This is why we need, and we have, best practices. Most of medical associations have something like that. What you see here comes from 2018 from the American College of Surgeons. It's a list of recommendations, an article published in the Journal of American College of Surgeons. The most interesting one as a recommendation is the last one. Here says, extend traditional expectations of professionalism to online behavior, content, and engagement. So when we are posting something about a therapy or a patient, we should stay professional. This is a new article, 2022, from the American Society of Pain and Neurosciences about best practice, a really interested expert opinion article. You will find many useful information there, but the bottom line of it is that we have to stay professionals. We also need a code of ethics for social media. This is coming from cardiovascular surgeons in the United States, an article published in 2018. There's a table there. The most important things are these three ones that I highlighted. The physicians must make pertinent medical information available to patients. So the patients must be well informed. They must maintain confidentiality, and they must refrain from making false, deceptive, or misleading statements when they're posting something on social media. One more editorial coming from Dr. Levy, once again from Neuromodulation, is about social contracts in medicine. This is not only about neurosurgery, it's not only about functional neurosurgery, it's not about neurosurgery, it's about medicine as a whole. Dr. Levy here wrote, as physicians, we need to take charge. We need to evaluate what really drives us and ensure that these are reasonable, appropriate, and necessary values. And if so, then we must take back our culture and convince others of the value of our mission. So for me, this is one of the main reasons why I'm using the social media, because I really want to convince others of the value of our missions, because I have seen in everyday life that the surgeries that we're offering can change the lives of the patients and the lives of their relatives as well. And marketing is a good thing if it's done properly. And my society, the International Neuromodulation Society, since 2012 recognized this necessity, and this is another editorial there, and writing here that we should move away from the print journals to more online material, that we need more webinars. And you saw what happened. That was 2012. Okay, now we have 2023. You see, in these last years, how many webinars we have, how many newsletters we have, how many podcasts we have, and many other things. And back then, INS, the International Neuromodulation Society, has hired also a social media consultant, Miss Nancy Garcia. She doesn't work anymore in the INS, but she did a terrific job back then and helped a lot of the INS community. So it's something that we really need. And this is why INS have also different committees. One of them of these committees is this Public Education Outreach and Website Committee. This is an email we got, all INS members, October 2015, if we wanted to take part in such committees. And I took part in this. And some years later, 2019, we got another email, Neuromodulation, so the journal, seeking an associate editor for social media and web content. And I applied for this position, and I got this position. I worked for the journal for 12 months. It was a terrific experience for me. I learned lots of things back then. And this is the new version. Now we have the Medical and Public Education and Engagement Committee. Dr. Anitescu from Chicago University is the chair. I'm the co-chair, but this is not so important. I would just like to show you a typical email we get once per month. It's about videos. This one here about CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, that have been prepared from INS members. They have been posted of YouTube in Chinese, English, and Spanish. Here in this email, we send out the links to these videos, and we are asked our members to share these videos with their community. And you will notice here in the end of the email, we have also the social media accounts of INS, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. So directly with one click, one can find all this information. For me, social media is synergia. This is the Greek word for synergy. Syn means plus, ergo is the work. So synergy is the creation of a whole that is greater than the simple sum of its parts. And I'm convinced that if we use social media wisely, we can achieve this synergy for our colleagues and for our patients. Because of the social media, colleagues from Brazil found me online and they invited me to give a talk on neuromodulation and social media. What a surprise. For indoor, this is a neuromodulation course in Brazil. This is the fourth. I also took part in the fifth one, and I hope I can still take part in the many next courses in the future in Brazil. But this is how the colleagues found me on social media. Or another example, I was in Munich, here in Germany, for the German Spine Congress. I had a talk there, but at the same time, I wanted to give a talk about the intrathecal baclofen therapy. But we had a problem. The second talk should be presented in Hamburg. Hamburg is another city in Germany. The distance between the two cities is 660 kilometers. Or if you want to drive without traffic jams, it's 6.5 hours. So how do we do? I was in Munich and I did give the talk on baclofen therapy using Skype. So technology can help us a lot. Another example, or Instagram. This is the Brain Book. This was a live event with the people from Brain Book. We spoke about neuromodulation, about neurosurgery, and many other things. And people had many questions as well. And we have also YouTube. This was a talk on spinal cord stimulation, peripheral vascular disease. You can always watch these videos on YouTube, not always live, not only live, but also weeks, months, or years after the broadcasting. This is exactly the same with the webinar of today. Hopefully you can see it after many years. We have also Facebook, and I don't know if you know this website, Neurosurgical TV. It's really active with educational activities. There are colleagues from around the world, very famous people, very experienced ones, with different talks. You can visit the website or the YouTube channel of this website. You can find many talks. We organized a talk on neuromodulation, spinal cord stimulation there as well. You can see how all these platforms can be used in order to disseminate information. To sum it up, why I use social media. I use them to stay up to date. I can learn all relevant news from different medical associations or societies. I can stay informed, new publications or new products in the market. I can stay informed about congresses that are coming, about webinars that are coming or other events. On my side, I can disseminate knowledge. I can disseminate my own articles that I'm writing. I can disseminate my books. I can disseminate information about neuromodulation for colleagues who already have experience in this field, or for colleagues who never heard about neuromodulation before, for patients, for relatives, for healthcare organizations, patient support groups, for example, for medical students, and you're a very good example today. I use social media to build up networks, not only with physicians, with professions from other professions as well. And one more way to use social media is to recruit personnel. Let's imagine you have an open position and you have difficulties to find somebody for this position. Social media could be used for something like that as well. If you're interested in neuromodulation as a whole or in spinal cord stimulation, these are two books. I'm involved in these two books. If you're interested, you can read them. More importantly, if you're interested in neuromodulation, functional neurosurgery, I would advise you to follow the social media accounts of INS, International Modulation Society, and of the corresponding journal on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I will finish with this small video. It's Alma. Now she's 18 years old. Some people say she's a modern Mozart, a genius.
From this hat. And then I will
One can give her randomly some notes, and within seconds,
Yes, close your eyes.
she can build up a melody based on these specific notes. She's really good at it. She's really a genius.
Me.
And this is her gift. She can transform simple notes into a very nice melody. This is, of course, a talent. It is a gift. And you will see in the end, she says, it does not have to be very complex, but people should want to listen to it and enjoy it. So our brain should enjoy this melody. And this is the goal for you. You should find a specialty. It could be neurosurgery, it could be something else. If you choose neurosurgery, it could be functional neurosurgery, it could be something else. It doesn't really matter. But whatever you choose should be a very nice melody for your brain. You should be very happy with your melody. So please do explore all possible options that you have, and you have many, many options, and choose wisely, because this melody is going to accompany you for the very many, many years to come. Now it's your turn. Your floor is yours for questions. Always, you can reach me. This is my email address. If I can help somehow, please let me know. I will try to do this. And in order to save some time, I would go directly to some questions that we already collected from many medical students. And Angela was kind enough to do a summary of all these questions. So I will try to go pretty quickly over all these questions and then just look if you have any additional questions. So one of the questions was, which are the challenges in neurosurgery? So this is a subjective answer, but I would tell you that for me, the biggest challenge was neuroanatomy, because if you want to become a neurosurgeon, you really have to learn neuroanatomy really good, and neuroanatomy is not so simple to learn and remember. One thing you should never forget, in neurosurgery, you have many emergencies, meaning many surgeries at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, meaning not sleeping a lot. Other challenges are the specialization. In neurosurgery, you have different things that you can do. You can treat aneurysms, you can do skull-based surgery, you can treat the spine. There are many things to do. If you want to do skull-based surgery, like Angela here, who is with us today, you will have to have the luck to find a specialized surgeon to see such operations, and the luck to have a director to allow you to perform such operations as a resident. It's not an easy thing to get. You should get used to long working hours. This is true for many specialties, but especially for neurosurgery. But I think if you really like what you're doing, at least for the first year, you will not notice it. you're still young about it. About my decision now, how I decided to become neurosurgeon. I just knew it. I don't know how I decided. I assume when I saw some aneurysm cases, this was a big motivation to follow this career. But when I started operating, when I started looking at other colleagues, what they were doing, I saw there are so many opportunities in this field, so many unexplored fields that actually any of us can find something new to do and do it well. There are many students that are asking, how can we decide if we're going to choose a surgical specialty or a medical one? There are some of them who like both of them, and then it's a bit tricky. In internet, you can find some flow charts, some funny flow charts, and actually they are pretty good. Although they are funny, actually they represent the reality. So you can simply Google it, say how to choose a specialty, and you will get some funny algorithms. Please have a close look at them. They're really helpful. My advice would be to visit the corresponding departments you are interested in, not just congresses, but the colleagues who are working in everyday life and see what they are doing in everyday life. When I was a medical student, I visited different departments, neurosurgery, cardiothoracic surgery, orthopedics, cardiologists as well, neurologists, and you have to see on your own how is the reality and decide if it's something for you or not. There are not any recipes there. This is also a gut feeling. About research, many medical students are interested in research. My focus is spinal cord stimulation and different types of stimulation, different waveforms that we are using in the context of spinal cord stimulation therapy. And all of these studies are made with the help of the medical industry, from industry that is selling spinal cord stimulation devices. So they are sponsored studies. Skills in surgery as a total, not only in neurosurgery, how we can become more, how we can become better with our hands. The best idea is to go to the ER, to the emergency department, find residents there, and when patients are coming with goods, ask them to allow you to do it on your own. In the beginning, it's going to be very slowly, but as you keep trying, it's going to become much, much better. Another way is to find courses where they can teach you how we can do the basic things. The majority of big universities, at least, provide such courses regularly, and some of them are also for free. You don't have to pay anything for it. But I think the clever way to do it, to find some residents, stick to them, and beg them in the beginning to let you do the work. They are going to benefit from it. You are going to benefit from it as well. A very interesting question was, which is the role of young people in neurosurgery? And the answer is simple. The role of young people is exactly the same as in other field, in medicine and in life in general, because young people have spirit, energy, ideas, and very importantly, time. And we can all benefit from all these things. If now the medical students are coming from a different background, so if you have medical students, if you have students that are studying biology, physics, informatics, medical engineering, for example, then the combination is even better, because if you have people from different backgrounds, they have different ideas. And if you combine all these different ideas, you can achieve something much, much better. Synergy is the term. Another group of questions was about the indications for neuromodulation, and there were some specific questions about depression. For depression, we have psychiatrists and neurologists who are actively working in this field, and the main therapy now is this transcranial magnetic stimulation, non-invasive. There are some experiments, let's say, or studies with deep brain stimulation for depression, but it's not something that we should consider as a mainstay therapy nowadays. Maybe in the future. In the future now, which is the future for this therapy? Smaller implants. We need leads that are smaller. We need batteries or neurostimulators that are really smaller. Maybe in the future, we can implant such devices endovascularly, like stents, and bring the stent in this area of the brain where the corresponding neurons are lying, the neurons that we are going to stimulate. This could happen, and there are some attempts. More education on spinal cord injury in order to help people walk again. The attempts have already started. We're in the very beginning, but I'm sure in the next 10 years, we're going to see very many more things, great things in this area. And artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. You find it in banks, you find it in every aspect in everyday life, but you find it also in medicine. In spinal cord stimulation or in deep brain stimulation, this artificial intelligence could help us choose the right therapy for the right patient from the very beginning, without any trial and experiment errors. This is the first steps, but maybe in the future, if we give the right data to the system could tell us which is the best thing to do, which is the best waveform to apply if we're using spinal cord stimulation. I think this is the majority of the question. I don't know if I forgot anything, but please, you are online. If you have a specific question that I can answer, I will be glad to do it. I see some already a question. Is it possible to have a balanced work-life as a neurosurgeon, work balance? Work-life balance is a very nice thing to hear and to write about. And this is something I hear for the last 5-6 years. It's a new trend. But I have to be honest with you. As a neurosurgeon, it's not so easy to do this. This work-life balance, at least in the very first years of your career as a resident, and after that, as a young consultant, it's really hard to achieve. Meaning you have to invest much time and you have to sacrifice much personal time. If you are in a relationship, it's really difficult. If the second person in the relationship is also a physician, it could be easier because they can show some understanding. They are in the same field. If not, it could become problematic. So neurosurgery is one of the specialties in medicine with pretty high divorce rates, for example. It is not a coincidence because neurosurgery requires dedication. If you want to become good at it, you have to invest much time in it. Please don't get me wrong. It is possible to combine all these things, personal life, professional life, but it's not easy. You have to be a little bit talented, and your partner, if you have a partner, should be also a little bit talented, because this is teamwork. It's not easy. There are many, many hours in the hospital, and when you're going back home, you're going to be so tired in the first years that you are not going to be able to do anything more. And when you have some energy, you have to study. This is the reality. In the long run, it pays off. I don't know any neurosurgeons that said after some years, now I regret it, I wouldn't do it again. But when you go through it, it's difficult. This is the reality. You should know this. About dementia now and Alzheimer's disease, there are some DBS studies that are ongoing. They're trying to not treat dementia, to stabilize dementia using DBS leads in our brain. Some results are good, some results are not good. Once again, this is not the mainstay therapy, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have much better results in the future as we learn more about the pathophysiology of the disease and as we learn more about how deep brain stimulation actually works. A very nice question. If neuromodulation is available in low, middle income countries, neuromodulation is available everywhere. The question is if the insurance companies are paying for it, or if the patients have the money to pay for these therapies out of their own pocket, if the insurance companies are not paying for it. It's a really expensive therapy. All therapies with leads and batteries or neurostimulations are really, really expensive. In some countries like Germany, France, United Kingdom, we can do it without any problems. In other countries like Greece, for example, where I'm coming from, it's not that easy. We'll have to get approvals from the Ministry of Health. It takes time. Sometimes it's not accepted. And sometimes the patient has to pay out of his own pockets. So to sum it up, it's a difficult situation. This is why you will see in some countries, for example, India, the colleagues are working with very old versions of the systems. So let's say we have now version 3 of a neurostimulator in Germany. There are colleagues in India, for example, they are using version 1. It can help patients, maybe not as much as version 3, but it helps patients and it is much cheaper. My favorite question till now is this one. Can someone become millionaire practicing neurosurgery? I like your way of thinking. The quick answer is no. You cannot become millionaire by becoming a neurosurgeon. If you want to become millionaire, I think you should become a physician. If you become a physician and you want to get so much money, I think you should consider becoming a plastic surgeon, not a neurosurgeon. Neurosurgeon is really difficult to combine it with so much money. This is the reality. Okay, there are some exceptions to this rule, but there are exceptions. So if you're going to decide on your specialty based on the financial aspect of it, then please do not select neurosurgery as your residency field. About brain tumors now, if it is rewarding to operate patients with brain tumors, because some of these patients, the outcome is not good because of the condition. I wouldn't agree. I don't like such surgeries. I don't like operating brain tumors, and I stopped doing it in 2012. I don't like this type of surgeries, but I do know colleagues who are absolutely passionate about such surgeries. They absolutely love it. And this is not true. There are patients with brain tumors who can survive many, many years after such surgeries, even though if they are grade 3 or 4 tumors with a good quality of life. So even if you have, as a physician or as a surgeon, a neurosurgeon, the possibility to operate on a patient and give him or her a chance to live longer with a better quality of life, only this hope should be enough to be happy with what you are doing. Of course, with chronic pain patients, it's different. You have patients that are coming with chronic pain. You offer a surgery. After some days, the patients have a pain relief. You see the result immediately. It is rewarding. This is the truth. If you have a patient with a brain tumor, it will take much more time to see the difference. Of course, the tumor is going to be away, but very frequently the patient will have to have chemotherapy or radiation or something more, rehabilitation, physiotherapy. The improvement is not so obvious or not so rewarding. But imagine you see your patient after 2 years of surgery. He can walk, he can go to the cinema, or can go for a walk with his wife. This is quality of life. And you help him achieve that. It is really important, it's really relevant. This is why I cannot tell you that neurosurgery is the best specialty. It's not. It's one of the very good specialties, but all specialties are good. With all the specialties, you can help patients. And I think this is the main reason why most of us at least became physicians because they want to help patients. So with all specialties, you can help patients and improve their quality of life. The tricky question is if you can find the specialty which is best for you, not for your patients, because you have to live with this choice for the next 30 years. So the decision is not simple. This is why I believe you should spend some time in the hospital in different specialties, in different departments, just to get an idea of what is happening. And once again, brain tumor surgery is rewarding no matter what happens. About documentaries or videos showing patients, it depends on how one is doing these videos. It could work out really well. We can raise awareness with such videos. We can inform colleagues and patients about what we can do in specific diseases, how these operations are done, what should the patients should expect after such operation. It could help. At the same time, however, if we don't do these videos or documentaries in the right way, it could bring to many problems. For example, it could happen that the patients are really anxious about such things, even more than they should. I did not watch this specific documentary. I watched many others, and I saw some of them which were really good, very inspirational, and really helpful for the therapy, for the physicians, and for the patient. And I saw others, mainly produced by physicians themselves, which were not good. When patients are looking at these videos, they are getting their feeling that the physician is trying to sell something, not to help the patients. And this is not the right way to do it. Should neurosurgeons have risk taking personality to succeed? I didn't understand this question. Personality tests, maybe, if they should learn more about their own personality before choosing a specialty. If this is the question, the answer is yes. This could be a very nice idea. You have to know yourself if you want to help others. So if you know what are you good at, what you are not good at, what you can do, what you cannot do, what you can tolerate, and what you cannot tolerate, then the chances that you are going to choose the right specialty are dramatically increasing. So, for example, if somebody does not have any patient, I don't think it would be a good idea to become a pediatrician. For example, there are such simple things, but there are also some more subtle things. So let's say a personality check would help. And of course, nobody should know about the results, only the person who is doing this test. The friends or colleagues should never learn about this. But this is a useful input in order to decide about the next step in your career. I don't see other questions. I hope you are not exhausted.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It was a really insightful lecture. I really enjoyed myself. And I got messages saying that the way you explained things were so interesting. And I don't think any of us are exhausted, at least not me. I could listen for hours.
Nice to hear.
There's
What
another.
makes neuromodulation different from neurosurgery? So once again, this is why I structured my presentation in this way. We have neurosurgery. This is the general term. But in neurosurgery, you have many different things. We can treat aneurysms, we can treat spine, we can treat brain tumors. And you have also functional neurosurgery. Functional neurosurgery is a branch of the general neurosurgery. In order to make it more simple for medical students, for residents, for consultants, for physicians as well, and for people, we have used this neuromodulation. Neuromodulation is not a field, it's a way of acting. With this word, we want just to describe what we can do using the surgeries of functional neurosurgery. So neuromodulation is just a term to tell medical students, residents, consultants, patients, when I'm going to do this surgery, I'm going to give electricity, and with this electricity, with these electrical impulses, I'm going to change, I'm going to modulate how your nervous system is working. This is the first option. The second option is to tell the patients or the colleagues, I'm going to do a surgery, and with this surgery, I'm going to use drugs in your spinal canal, in your spinal column, and with these drugs, chemical agents, I'm going to change, modulate the way your nervous system works. So we don't have a specialty neuromodulation. There's not such specialty. We have only general neurosurgery, and as a subspecialization, we have functional neurosurgery. You will never find the term neuromodulation as a subspecialization. This is something we are using in order to clarify what we are doing in the everyday life. And the concept is simple. We use electrical impulses or drugs in order to modify the way that our nervous system is working.
Thank you once again, Doctor, for such an enriching session. That concludes the talk of the month by IASS, Social Media, Functional Neurosurgery, and the Holy Grail of Neuromodulation. Thank you, Dr. Georgios. The discussion with you was exceptionally inspirational, and I found it to be an enriching opportunity to work with you. I hope our paths will cross again and we will be able to work together in the future. Oh, we will be in the conference.
We will.
We will. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank
The
you.
recording of today's talk will be found at a later stage at the IASS website and YouTube channel. Please fill in the post-session feedback form, and please don't forget to sign up for IASS membership in order to obtain a certificate. We will collect the attendance list and we will send the feedback form to your personal email, so please look out. So that's all from me, Angela Jajatio from the IASS Talks portfolio. Thank you everyone for joining today's discussion with us. We hope to see you again next time.